buffet anyway.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
I believe we are at episode 1816, and the show's called Mike's Daily Podcast. And this is a show where I have to do a show every day per my Lord order that I had the prosecution disorder, and I think it's part of my community service. Hey, you guessed it, and I think I'm pissed because it's episode 1816. Mike's Daily Podcast. Hey, so it's St. Patrick's Day. St. Patty. And not too far away from me, from where I am broadcasting. Mike's in Podcastro Daily Ballyton. Podcast. In Dublin, there's... Yeah! Dublin has a big Irish festival, as you would guess, because it's Dublin. But that's either here nor there, or anywhere up there, or whatever. Last show was called Zug, because I was talking about how Germans are specific, and I don't even know what that means. I was listening to my show from yesterday. Germans don't like late things. They think things gotta be on time. And I forgot to tell the story about my cousin Tina in Germany and her husband Claudio, who used to do travel packages. And he would set up these travel packages all around the world. They'd go to the Middle East. They'd go all kinds of places. And Germans would sign up. And he said, sometimes there'd be Americans, sometimes there'd be French. He said, everybody was pretty cool, flexible with the times. But Germans, it had to be on time or they'd be mad. They wouldn't tolerate any flexibility in time. So that's why I bring all that up. But I enjoyed the movie last night called...
And here's today's podcast picture.
Ant-Man and Wasp. I watched it, and I was watching it going, what's the villain? Who's the villain in this movie? In Marvel movies, there always seems to be, this is the villain. The villain who can do this. He can snap his fingers and half the galaxy's population disappears. Does that include animals too? I don't know, because the ant was still alive at the end of Ant-Man. But, Marvel, you've painted yourself into a corner. You've done... See, this is why I stopped reading comic books, the whole universe is destroyed. They did this both with the DC and the Marvel universe. The whole universe is destroyed, and Doctor Who did this too. The whole universe has to be rebooted. It's a Stephen Moffat thing. He loved rebooting things, even with Sherlock. It was all a dream. Just back up, Basil. I took him walking yesterday with his new harness. The harness works much better, by the way, than the thing that wraps around their belly or wraps around their back end. It's the harness is what I'm saying. It needs the legs. So the back of Basil isn't working, basically. I mean, as far as legs go, everything else seems to work. But the front legs are working perfectly. It's the back ones. So he's kind of become a marionette. But he's getting around. We had a good time. And he enjoyed it. And he's laughing and boxing and barking. And, I mean, he almost got my face the other day with his boxing. Because boxers just totally, they throw their arms out at you. And you got to duck. That's why they call them boxers. But, yeah, so I don't like the whole Endgame thing and Infinity Wars. And I want Endgame to hurry up and get here so we can explain what and see how frickin' Disney reboots their whole universe. And I was talking to somebody who's a big comic book fan, and he said that Captain Marvel is going to be a big hand in this movie, this upcoming Endgame, Infinity Wars, Avengers thing. And I'm like, oh, okay. And he's like, but Wanda, the Scarlet Witch, she, in the comic books, has rebooted the universe twice. And I said, oh, I didn't know that. So now I've gotten into this whole comic book topic, and this is not a comic book podcast, and I hate those podcasts. And those podcasts basically paint themselves into a corner, and they can't continue on, and they last for maybe 2 years, and then they're done. And I don't want to talk about that. I did want to say, though, Ant-Man 2 Wasp thing was good. I enjoyed it. It was hilarious. The fact that he still has his friends that he knew from jail, and they've developed this company called X-Con. That was funny. And the reference to Morrissey having this effect with the Latino community. He has this thing. He is a white Anglo-Saxon. I think he's a Northern England guy, as I understand it, and has really no affiliation whatsoever with any of our Spanish-speaking countries that I know of. Yet he has such tremendous appeal, especially to the East LA crowd. This is so true, because I tell this story, it's the truth, that I was coming home. I used to work at 4 p.m. to midnight at a radio station for 11 years called KHEY. I worked there for 11 years, did the Santa Fe Cafe, on which Cafe Anyway, I created a lot of the characters that ended up that you hear at Cafe Anyway when I was doing the Santa Fe Cafe. That was back eons ago in the 90s to the mid-O's. And so, I was coming home at midnight from my job, and there was this concert venue I used to drive past every night, the Majestic Ventura Theater. And I'm driving past there one night, and Morrissey has just performed, and he's done, and people are leaving out of the theater. And, you're expecting, maybe because he's a white British dude, maybe he'd have a white following. No, it was anything but. It was a mix, for sure, of all types. And it was fascinating and multi-ethnic, cultural, etc. So, that's what I learned about Morrissey. And they always talk about that in the Ant-Man movies, apparently, in this one. So, back to Mike's Daily Podcast, somewhere in Podcastro Valley 10 today. And the podcast picture, we will look at that right now. It looks like 6 years ago, I was in the wonderful area of Alameda in the Bay Area. And you can see this picture at MikesDailyPodcast.com. It is of, crud. I can't decide. It was, all right, there's this area that used to belong to the Navy. And if you ever watch Mythbusters, they're constantly blowing up stuff there. And I haven't watched Mythbusters in quite a while, but they used to blow up stuff all the time. So this would be the area. As we go outside a cafe anyway, we're bringing Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley 10. I will post a picture of these cool boats sailing near that battleship, the Hornet, the USS Hornet, which the USS Hornet was going to be sold for scrap. And there was some agency in Alameda, Bay Area, that said, hey, we'll buy that. We'll buy that, make it a museum. And you can still go there today. It's awesome. And actually, we'll do the USS Hornet with the Sutro Tower in the background. How about that? That's a good one, too. Or how about we just do Sutro Tower? Okay, 6 years ago, this picture I took. And I'm sure Basil the Boxer was with me at the time. So back to the Ant-Man movie, and it was going so well, and then this whole Avengers Infinity thing got wrapped into it at the end. And we'll see what happens. But here's something that I didn't know was a thing, and that's the Grand Pad. What's a Grand Pad? So I've tried to teach my mom how to do Skype, or at the very least Google Hangouts, and she will not learn. She will not take it up. But apparently a company that makes this product called Grand Pad has come up with the brilliant idea, hey, we know that seniors are resistant to technology, so we've made this dummy-proof. And they got these commercials running all the time, showing grandparents Skyping with their kids, finding out, I'm going to be a great-granddad, and all that. So that's brilliant. It's true. Would I ever buy my mom a Grand Pad? Hell no. And then there's this other thing called Smart News. It's a Smart News app that you can pay for that apparently shows both sides of the story. It's not a party specific. It gives you both parties. It gives you liberal concepts and conservative news simultaneously. Any idiot could do that themselves on their Google feed. And you just go in and I don't know exactly how you do it, but you go into settings and you can mess around with it and you can go out and search. The thing is, they did this with the Wall Street Journal. The more you, let's say, you know what, I'm a liberal person. I'd like to hear some of the conservative viewpoint. Well, you just start going on to conservative websites and your feed will reflect it. Now, watch out for all that crap out there, the Breitbart and everything that's alt-righty, that's giving you too much. And conversely, the alt-lefty stuff, that's probably going a little too crazy, too extreme, and blaming people, and you got your conspiracy theories and all that. Hey, so someone who was a Republican president, we often forget, Lincoln, he told a joke. I had never heard this before until today. I was watching C-SPAN, and there was this guy doing a lecture from the University of Austin talking about humor and the White House and presidents. And Lincoln apparently told a lot of jokes. George Washington, nothing. He was a very stoic man, and that's partly why he was elected our first president, because we were serious. We had to play serious. But Lincoln was very humorous, and one of the jokes that the guy told that I found interesting, the lecturer told, was that Lincoln used to make fun of his appearance all the time. And apparently this is the thing that a lot of presidents did and do, is make fun of themselves, because it's easy. If you make fun of someone else, people go, oh, did you hear what the president said? Shots fired. That's not nice. So if you make fun of yourself, if you're self-deprecating, that's okay. So Lincoln said that he, not the handsomest dude, and he'd joke about that all the time. And apparently he was out one day and a lady said to him, sir, I believe you are the ugliest man I have ever seen. And Lincoln is like, okay, all right, well, this is how God made me. What do you expect me to do? And the lady said, well, at least you could have stayed home. And that's something I'd like to wrap up the show with and say, no, don't stay home. You got to go out. You got to enjoy life and get out there. And did you know also, you got to learn things like this that I didn't know up until recently. You know, nowadays presidents will pick their running mate. Trump, like Pence, because Pence is a yes man, does everything Trump wants, says, even though Pence, you just know, he's a very small man. I don't know if you've seen the pictures. He's tiny. He barely fits in your pocket, and he is, just whatever Trump says, even though he's very conservative, very Christian, and, Trump will do some things, and Pence is like, oh, God, I wish you would die so I could become president. But so Pence was picked by Trump. You had Biden was picked by Obama. But not too long ago, you had Harry Truman, and, well, actually, FDR was pressured. He was told to pick Truman, because they didn't like the vice president he had at the time. So the party would say to you, hey, no, you got to get rid of this guy, put this other guy in. And so the vice president was more of a sort of a fluid thing back then. I had no idea. And I didn't know as well that the president, when he would do a press conference back I guess in the 40s, I don't know if this was so much in the 50s, I guess possibly in the 50s as well, but when you did a press conference, you had to get the approval. If you were a reporter and if the president said something, whatever he said at the press conference, it was all of it was off the record. And you would have to get permission from the president himself about is this okay? Can we print this? Nowadays, of course, anything is up for grabs, but it's fair game. So St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Get out there. Enjoy it. I'm not going to eat the corned beef today because I'm lazy. I don't know if I want to make this thing. But I do want to say hi to some people.
Hello, Mike Matthews and Chely Shoehart, gift shop supervisor. And inside the gift shop today, we got a lot of leprechauns and clovers. I hate those.
Yes, they are annoying, but we only have to see them once a year. And it is interesting that this time of year in the Bay Area, as I look out, I'm looking out over the Diablo Valley type thing from Cafe Anyway today. And it is so green still in the Bay Area. Some years we've been a little dry at this point. In fact, I was looking at a paper from 2 years ago, a newspaper that I had for some reason kept, and it was talking about how we had record rain 2 years ago. So last year, not so much. This year, of course, record rain. And I was talking to Rob Black, the host of Rob Black and Your Money, who's also on Cron TV, does a Your Money segment. And he was telling me how the snow is so freaking high up in the Truckee, Tahoe area. It is so tall, so high up, which is, I guess, Californians, we ain't exactly used to that, but it's fascinating. But you need to get out there and see the snow and see the greenery and see the shamrocks and the clover. And look who else is here. Hello, Mike. This is Floyd the Floorman. And this is John Deere, the engineer. Mike, I was offended by your review of Marvel movies.
But if you get offended, that's the way the cookie crumbles. No.
Oh, you like those, huh? The Marvel movies? No. Oh, okay. Oh, well then. Oh, one more thing. I'm traveling home on BART on Friday evening, and there's this Kmart that I pass. Yes, there's still a Kmart left in the Bay Area, and I look over, and there was maybe 5 cars in the parking lot. That thing is... I don't even know why it's still here. Haven't they all closed? What the heck? Remember when Rosie O'Donnell and Penny Marshall used to be their spokespeople? And now Penny's gone. Anyway, I have to go too. Enjoy your day. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Next show, it'll be Benita, the Disgruntled Fiddle Player, and the Brewmaster.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MikesDailyPodcast.com. Email Mike now at MikesDailyPodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!